Somewhere there is a photo of the very first time you were ever held. You've probably seen it, and you remember absolutely none of it. Not the room, not the faces, not the first time you heard your own name. For your first years you were fully awake, fully alive. And there's nothing there. Try it right now. Reach back as far as you possibly can. A birthday, a house, a blurry afternoon, and then a wall. Almost no one remembers anything before the age of 3. That isn't a small gap. That's 1,000 days of your life. Gone. A whole person, learning to be human, and not one single frame survives. The years you learned to walk, to talk, to love the people who raised you, deleted. The most important years you will ever live. And you have an alibi for none of them. And here's the part almost nobody tells you. Those memories may not have been lost at all. The truth is stranger, and a lot colder, than just forgetting. Someone, or something, took them from you. Let's find out who. The story you've been told is simple. You were just too little to remember. A baby's brain, supposedly, is too undercooked to record anything. It's a clean explanation. It's also completely wrong. Babies form memories constantly. They have no choice. A 6-month-old knows its mother's face and voice in seconds. A 1-year-old remembers where you hid the toy yesterday. They learn language, the hardest thing you'll ever do, from memory alone. So the machine works. The recording light is on, which makes the real question so much darker. If the memories were being made, where did they go? And maybe you're thinking, but I do have one tiny memory from before 3. A crib, a dog, a beach. You can almost see it. Psychologist Elizabeth Loftus spent decades proving how fragile that feeling is. Her work shows the brain can build a vivid, detailed memory of something that never happened. Most of your earliest memories aren't recordings. They're reconstructions, stitched from photos and stories you were told. You don't remember the moment. You remember the photograph of the moment. The handful of real ones that survive are the lucky exceptions. And even they are crumbling. In 1905, one man finally put a name to the crime. Sigmund Freud called it infantile amnesia. He noticed nearly every adult had the same strange hole in their past, the same years missing, the same wall at age 3. For a century, no one could explain it. It happens to every human on Earth, in every culture. It is the most universal case of amnesia that exists, and it robs you before you're old enough to notice you've been robbed. To find the thief, we go inside the baby's brain while it's still under construction, and construction is exactly the right word. A newborn already has almost every neuron it will ever own, around 86 billion, but they're barely connected. The wiring isn't finished, so in the first years, the brain wires itself at a speed it will never reach again. Over 1 million new neural connections form every single second, while the baby just lies there, staring at a ceiling fan. By age 3, a child's brain has twice as many connections as yours does now. It's the most powerful learning machine in the known universe, and that power is exactly the problem. Imagine writing your diary into fresh, wet cement. Now imagine pouring a brand new layer of cement over it every day. That's a baby's brain, recording, then paving straight over the recording. The memory gets written, then the growth that makes you smarter buries it. And there's one spot where this is most brutal, a sliver of the brain called the hippocampus. It's the part that stamps a moment as a memory. And in a baby, it's still being built. Deep inside it, brand new neurons are being born by the thousands every single day. The very engine of memory is also its demolition crew. In 2014, 2 scientists proved this wasn't just a metaphor. Paul Franklin and Sheena Jocelyn in Toronto studied memory in baby mice. Baby mice forget fast. They have their own infantile amnesia. The team zeroed in on one thing, the birth of new neurons, neurogenesis. In babies, that birth rate is enormous. In adults, it slows to a trickle. So they did something clever. They flipped the rates. They slowed neuron growth in the baby mice, and the memories suddenly stayed. Then they forced fast neuron growth in adult mice, and the adults began to forget. The conclusion was chilling. The flood of new neurons was overwriting the old circuits. Each new neuron muscles into the network and rewires the connections around it. The old memory's address still exists, but the streets around it have all been rebuilt. You go looking for the memory, and the map no longer matches the city. Your first memories weren't too weak to survive. They were paved over by your own growth. You didn't lose them by accident. Your brain deleted them to build you. But neurogenesis is only one hand on the eraser. There's a second reason those years are unreachable, and it's about who you were. To store a memory the way you do now, you need something a baby doesn't have yet. You need a you to hang it on. Adult memories are autobiographical. They have a main character, you. I was scared. I was at the beach. That happened to me. A 1-year-old has no solid sense of I to file the memory under, and almost no language to lock it into place. Words are the hooks we hang memories on. Before words, they have nowhere to stick. Psychologist Carol Peterson asked thousands of people for their first memory. The average earliest memory lands at about 3.5 years old, right when language explodes and a stable sense of self appears. No coincidence. Before the story of you begins, nothing is saved as your memory. And here's the proof: it isn't only biology, it's also the stories you're told. Researcher Chi Wang compared people's earliest memories across cultures. Adults raised where families rarely dwell on the past report later thinner first memories. The Maori of New Zealand, who tell rich family stories from birth, have the earliest memories on record, back to about 2.5. Same brain, same biology, more words, more story, and the door opens a little wider. Memory, it turns out, is partly a story you're taught to tell about yourself. And there's a cruel twist hidden in the timing. Psychologist Patricia Bauer found the amnesia arrives on a delay. Young children can remember being 2 for a little while. Bauer recorded children's early memories, then waited for years. A 3-year-old could describe events from when they were a baby. By age 7, the same child had forgotten most of it, for good. The memories don't fade gently with age. They drop off a cliff in childhood. The memories were there. You could have asked. Now no one ever can. Somewhere in childhood, a door quietly closes behind you, and you walk on into the rest of your life, never hearing it shut. So that's it then. Overwritten, unlabeled, gone. Case closed. Except it isn't, because in the last few years, the case cracked back open. And what scientists found turns the whole story upside down. Remember the assumption under everything. The memories are erased. What if they're not erased, just locked where you can't reach them? In 2016, neuroscientist Christina Alberini's lab at NYU tested exactly that. They taught baby rats a specific memory, a place to avoid. Days later, the rats acted like they'd forgotten it completely. Infantile amnesia. In a rodent, the same thing that happens to us. But the team suspected the memory was still physically there. A dormant trace, an engram. Picture the scene, a darkened lab. A single rat that no longer fears the place that once scared it. So they did something that sounds like science fiction. They had tagged the exact brain cells that held the memory and wired them to answer to light. Using light, they reached into the brain and switched that one engram back on. A thin blue pulse, and in an instant, the fear was back. The rat remembered. A memory they had declared gone, switched back on like a lamp. The memory was never gone. It was just unreachable from the inside. The lights were off, but the room was still full. Then, in 2025, the question finally reached human babies. At Yale, Nick Turk-Brown's team pulled off something almost impossible. They put awake, alert infants inside an MRI scanner and kept them still. If you've ever tried to hold a 1-year-old still for a minute, you know how impossible that is. They showed the baby's images and watched the hippocampus, the brain's memory maker. When a baby later recognized an image, the scan had lit up the moment they first saw it. Proof, in a living human infant. The memory machine was recording all along. The babies were quietly filing the world away. They just couldn't hand us the files. The encoding works. The storage works. It's the retrieval that fails. Your first years may still be in there, written in a code your adult brain can't read. Like a hard drive from a computer that no longer exists. The file is intact. You just lost the machine that could open it. You are walking around right now carrying memories you'll never be allowed to see. Your mother's first words to you might be in there. Your first taste of the world might be in there, sealed behind glass, in a room with the lights off, which leaves the strangest part of all. Why would evolution build this in? Why make us forget the very years that shaped us most? The unsettling answer, the forgetting, isn't a bug. It's the price of the upgrade. That violent flood of new neurons, the thing that buried your memories, is the same flood that taught you to walk, to talk, to understand the world. And then comes the second half of the deal, the pruning. Through childhood, the brain deletes the connections it doesn't use. By some counts, almost half of them. It isn't building a bigger brain, it's carving a sharper one, like a sculptor knocking away stone. And your earliest memories were part of the stone that had to go. You couldn't keep the memories and build the brain, not at the same time. So nature made a trade. It spent your first memories as fuel. Every step you learned cost you the memory of learning it. The child you were was, in a sense, sacrificed, so the person you are could exist. You are standing on a version of yourself you will never meet. And here's the thing about a thief who robs you to build you a home. You can't even be angry. Without the theft, there's no you to be angry. The crime and the gift are the exact same act. Those missing years didn't vanish into nothing. They became your instincts, your fears, the way you flinch, or trust, or love. Every comfort, every fear you can't explain. A receipt from a deal you don't remember making. You don't remember being held, but your body remembers feeling safe, or not. The forgotten years are the foundation. You just live on the floors above them. You can't see the foundation. That's exactly why the house can stand. Everything you call me was poured in a room you'll never be let back into. The most important years of your life happened to someone you can't remember being. So tonight, do something a little strange. Find the oldest photo of yourself you can. Look at that face. Those are real eyes, looking at a real moment. Someone was holding the camera. Someone was loved. All of it happened. To you. And you were there for every second. You just weren't handed the keys to keep it. We spend our lives terrified of forgetting, of losing who we are. But you already survived the most total amnesia a human ever experiences. You lost everything from your first years, and you're still here, still you, which means the real you was never the memories at all. It's the thing those memories were quietly building the entire time. You are not your memories. You are what your memories made. Somewhere, locked in the dark, a baby is still recording. You'll never open that room, but you've been living in everything it made. The beginning of your story was written by someone you'll never get to meet. You. Your first memory isn't your beginning. It's just the moment you finally started writing it down.